Good morning, everybody. I'm here, Badari Duddupudi, welcoming you all on behalf of Flying Stories. Today, we have a very interesting subject, which is reserve throwing, which is shared by four pilots from four different Indian sites. Reserve throwing is an experience which doesn't happen quite often. So, and particularly when people are willing to share, it is a great experience to learn from that. So I'm here with first Rohit Kawalay from Pune. He is flying since 2010. He is very much, he analyzes every small thing which happens in his flying life in very detail, and he shares. And next I have is Rakesh Mochile. His incident is in happened in Bir. I forgot Rohit's incident was in Kamche in Pauna site. And Rakesh is here to share his incident from Bir. Rakesh lives in Mumbai and is also flying more or less from 2010. And next we have is Vistasp Kharas, who has thrown twice, once in Panchgani and second time in Bir Billing. So he'll be sharing two experiences. And finally we have Karthik Kathavate. He has thrown his reserve in Bilaspur during an SIV, and he will be sharing his experience. All four of them are very senior pilots, and all of them are flying since 2010. And Karthik is right now in Mumbai, and Vistap is also from Mumbai. So let's go ahead with their stories first. Let me ask the first point is to Vistap Karas about your incident in Bir. Like, please,
Right.
please explain until before you pull the handle. Explain before you pull the handle.
Right. So this was, I remember I had just I had graduated from my Epsilon, which was a low ENB, to a high ENB, which was my blacklight, U-turn blacklight, which at the time was considered to be a very hot wing. And I think the main reason I bought it is because it had a phenomenal glide. And I didn't have a chance to do an SIV on it because I got it during the monsoon, and I immediately took it to Bir. I think that's where I opened my. In fact, I did go for an SIV to Bilaspur, but that SIV session was a complete washout due to bad weather.
Okay.
So those plans of SIV and then flying a new wing were, washed out, and I ended up with a brand new wing in Bir in October. And on that day, I decided to do just a small flight. It was, I think, my first flight or the second flight, and I took off and went to the first ridge towards Dharamshala, and it's a familiar. By then, it was quite a familiar ridge for me. This was around 2014, I think. I started in 2010, and I was quite low above the ridge. Maybe the distance was approximately 50-60 meters above the ridge.
This is what, +1?
This is on +1. Yeah. And I was approaching trigger when, and if I remember correctly, I had started my turn. I felt the thermal, and I initiated my turn in the thermal. And as soon as I did that, maybe I was, already into a turn or a second turn, and I had a huge deflation on my, I think it was my left side.
Okay.
And
turning right side?
Sorry?
You were turning right side?
Yeah, I think so, because I normally favor my right. So when I'm low, I automatically go to my right. So I had a huge deflation on the left. Approximately, 60-70% of the wing was gone. And then what took me by surprise was the dive that followed.
Okay.
So the wing recovered and then dived, and that is what completely caught me by surprise. And immediately it went into a spiral, and I remember at the time, pulling hard to recover out of the spiral. And also at the back of my head, I could see, so that basically was the incident.
Okay. So what height you had when the collapse happened?
I would say about 50 meters above the ridge line.
That's all. And when you are about to pull the handle, and how much height approximately you had?
I must have lost easily about 10, 15 meters.
You had approximately 30, 35 in hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will move on to Rohit. Rohit had this incident in Pavna. Rohit, go ahead. Just explain us until you pulled the handle.
Sure, sure. So this was pretty much the same thing. A new wing. I took it up right to the beer. Opened my wing, had some good cross country, good thermaling. My first time in beer, but I was already doing 30, 35. So was very happy. Then came back to calm shade, and typically you try to. Now you're in the beer mindset. So I started exploring bit calm shades, not just soaring, going behind the Pavna ridges. And one of such day, I arrived at the knuckle on the ridge. Nowadays, if I do it at a lot of height. But at that time, I was doing it at the ridge level. And I arrived at the knuckle, and there was a confusion for me, which side was the rotors, because the wind can almost be front, and little change in a direction, it can be rotors on this side or that side. So there was a mistake. I went on the complete rotors area. What started with a huge collapse on a left side, that created a huge dive on the, that didn't create, but there was it's a random, it's a rotor. So there was a huge dive on the right hand side, while I didn't go with the wing. I was still trying to balance out my balance rather than going with the wing. So that brake got pulled to a large extent when the wing was diving on the right hand side way down, and I was still trying to like hold my inertia. So the extreme pull, the brake got pulled a lot. So the next time when the wing came back up, it had already stalled one side. So I was right. Yeah.
Basically, the reflex has reacted too much a bit.
I didn't pull. The wing dove,
Okay.
and my hand automatically pulled so much brake.
Okay.
So when the wing came back, it had already stalled this side.
Okay.
And I could immediately see my wing turning hard and in a nosedive. And by that time, I was about 100 meters or maybe 90, 95 meters above the ground level, barely above the knuckle.
This is when the glider started behaving a bit funny. At that time, you had 100 meters, or by the time?
I would say I would have had about 100 meters at that time, right?
Okay.
And by the time the glider dove in the nose down in a spiral, later I was analyzing my flight. It was exactly 90 meters above the ground underneath where I would land later.
Okay.
So 90 meters.
Okay. So, guys, what Rohit is explaining about 3 years back, when actually flying stories, we didn't even name the channel at that time. I was only just collecting data from friends. So he is the first person to give me the interview about this incident. We still have this. This is the oldest episode on flying stories. He has explained very much in detail. You can go there, some visuals, videos, and all that. You can check that out. So we will move to the next one, which is Karthik in Bilaspur. He was doing SIV at that time this incident has happened. Karthik, please explain until you pull the handle.
Yeah, thanks, Badari. Morning, everyone. So, in a gist, to everyone's question would be, so he's deployed in an SIV. What's the big deal? But yes, that is the second part of the discussion. Let us rewind a little, go back to why I deployed. So this was my second SIV in Bilaspur, and the first one had gone very well year before, and I was quite rearing to go into the next one. And the previous day we had completed quite a bit of stalls, so I wanted to continue the same thing over here. And well and good. This was my third flight, and I started off. I stalled the wing, and my recovery wasn't that good, mainly because I wasn't connected to the wing well enough.
Okay.
So when I stalled it, I couldn't hold it in backfly very well. At that point, I had a collapse, asymmetrical collapse, which then led to a restall
Okay.
and then a line over
Which side? On your left
on
or?
your left side, on the left side. So one of the main, we'll come to the reasons for that separately, but one of the main reasons was I was not looking up at the wing. I wasn't connected to the wing, which is something that we all talk about.
Okay. So you are not able to understand what actually happening with the wing. I mean, you are on your
Yes.
own and wing is on its own.
Yes, exactly.
So anything more you want?
So
Yeah.
yeah, Badri, I'll just share my screen later on the second part of the.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that. And now we will move on to Rakesh, who has had this incident in Birbiling. Rakesh, can you explain up to the pulling the reserve? I mean, pulling the handle before that, whatever is happened.
Hi guys, hi everyone. My reserve incident happened in Beer. This was on 25th of April 2016, and so that was spring season. And again, like Rohit and Biz, I too had started flying with a new wing. I had just received the wing end of October. I had 2 flights, and then I didn't get a chance to get an SIV on that before spring. And so this was fourth flight on this new Sigma 10 in Beer in spring. And so I was flying okay for about more than a couple of hours on that flight. I had flown little bit of the back mountains, and I found it turbulent, and I was coming. Finding it turbulent, I wanted to come to the front ridge. So I was somewhere behind train station.
Okay.
I was above the ridge behind train station, where I had this incident. So what was happening was I had reached this ridge, and I was looking at the transition to cross, and I didn't have too much height. I was I was at a height of 2,900 roughly, and that is roughly some 150 above the ridge.
Okay.
And so I tried to there was a small thermal. I tried to get whatever I can from that, and I found it's not going much higher. So I decided for a transition. I started the transition, and I started the transition, and I started pushing the bar, half bar, and I thought this is a calm place, let's go full bar. And I went for the full bar, and then I was in the pushing the full bar. I was going for the rear risers.
Okay.
And in that moment, I felt a collapse on the left side.
Okay.
And I felt the collapse, and I look. It's not a very huge collapse. It's not a small, not a very huge collapse. Say 40% types collapse.
Okay.
And the immediate reaction was I tried to compensate my weight, and I did that, and trying to figure course correction, but the wing had already started diving on the left, and it went in a very sharp, deep dive immediately. So it dove when I was like. I was like trying to pull the outer brake to correct that, but that wasn't really helping. I felt,
Okay.
and the die was turning into a spin, like so, and by that it was turning, and by half or three-fourths of the turn, I realized I had not released the speed bar.
Okay, you're still holding it.
Yeah, so the first instinct, always I have, forever had the speed bar. Anything you feel instability, you release. But in that incident, I realized when past half the turn, I realized the speed bar was still on. I released that quickly, but the wing had spun one turn and was going into the next turn, and I was trying to correct with the outer brake. I was pulling hard, but the wing was not responding. As in, it was not reducing. The dive was kind of starting to increase, and then there was the first turn, and then the second turn, and I was looking at the ground, trying to gauge where I am, and then I thought of. That what I can do. I thought of stall, and the first turn, second turn, and it was kind of like going in auto rotation. And by the fourth turn, I thought, okay, stall. I looked at the height. I felt this is not good enough height. I'm not sure if I can recover from the stall. So.
So how much height? How much height is that? Not good enough. You have made a decision. Like,
I thought it looked like something like 150 meters.
Okay, so you decided to pull.
150 meters, it looked like me.
Okay.
And so I at that moment I thought I don't have enough to recover from a stall.
Okay.
And that's when I decided, okay, this looks like I have to deploy.
You made a decision. Okay, now it is the time for the reserve. Anyway, thank you so much for that detailed explanation. Vistasp has two incidents, so I need him to explain the second one in Panchgani. Vistasp, can you go ahead, please?
Yeah, so the Panchgani one, I think, followed pretty much on the back of the one in Beer, because it was early the following year. I think it was 2015 in spring. And it was, I think it was the second edition of the PAI competition in Panchgani. And I remember on that day, I had finished the task, and we were allowed to keep flying after finishing the task.
Okay.
So I finished the task. I had lots of height, and I didn't have to land, so I decided to explore a little bit. And so I went to the Rajpuri area, and I had lots of height. I had probably, I would say, 150 200 meters from the terrain.
Okay.
And I was relaxed. I was just floating around and looking for thermals. And I saw this leaf. I saw one leaf floating around, and I said, oh, definitely a thermal there.
Okay.
And so I went towards the leaf. I think the only difference was that, now I had also graduated to a pod harness.
Okay.
So in Beer, I didn't have a pod harness. I was flying chair plus my new wing, and now I had also added a pod harness. And so I flew towards this leaf, and then I saw a few more leaves. And then, there was I could see almost 100 leaves, just floating around at
you already have a visual thermal calling you.
Yes. So there were all these leaves floating at one level, and I didn't know what it was. It didn't look like a thermal anymore.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was in the middle of this thing, surrounded by these leaves kind of turning around me. And then I started, my wing started behaving really strangely. I couldn't feel the pressure sometimes, on one side and on the other side. And I had no clue what was going on, which is when I took the decision to get out of there. So
By then, what height approximately you think you were in at this point of time?
I had clearly 100 to 150 meters above the terrain, above the ridge line.
Yeah.
So, so lots of height. And so I turned around, I turned the wing around and, to get out of that air mass or whatever was happening there. And as soon as I turned the wing, I started getting a series of collapses, so I had a big collapse on the right. I recovered from there. I had a big one on the left. It just went on. It was like alternating collapses. And then at one point, while trying to recover from all this, my harness started, turning around. So I suddenly had a couple of twists in my risers. And because I was trying to control these collapses, my brakes were pulled asymmetrically.
Okay.
So at this point now I was stuck. I had about 2 to 3 twists in my risers, and my brakes were asymmetrical. And then the glider started going into a rotation, and it kept going faster, and I could feel the G-force. And that was what happened. And there was no way to, although there was lots of height, I just couldn't even think of twisting my risers or getting out of there. Or
already basically you decided the things are out of your control because it is asymmetrical brake applied with, there is no way to bring it back.
Yeah.
So mentally already prepared that this is out of my control, right?
Yes.
So anyway, so out of all these 5 incidents, what I realize here today, listening together, is that out of 5, I think 4 are new equipment, except Karthik's, right? Everybody, most of it is like new equipment. Is it Rohit also, right?
Yeah. And Viz had a great point. Even the pod was like, I was still learning pod about a couple of months into my pod, but that was a great point from Viz.
Yeah.
But this is also a Badari that even I was in a pod at the time, which also contributed.
All 5 incidents are directly connected somewhere, like, it is to the new equipment. That is a new point I can learn today. Okay, so now we will go to the next point, which is basically so once we make up our mind that my main wing is not in my control anymore, I may have to go for my next survival, which is reserve. There is a very short time, but there is a lot of decisions go in your mind, which I call it is the psychology of making up your mind and pulling it out. So since you're still there online, like, would you like to say anything on that regard?
So in the first incident, it was, I was already below, mentally I was already below the safety limit.
Yeah, you had no
because I was already below 50 meters. I think it was even less, 50 meters is a lot. Because at the point at which I decided to go for the reserve handle, I could actually see the trees coming up at me, really close and scary.
Yeah.
And it was just a split second because
I don't really think in your beer experience you really had any amount of time to think a lot.
Right.
If you had a good amount of time in Panchgani, you better explain that.
Panchgani also was the same because, it's surprising how fast things can develop. And once there was the twist, yes, I had height, so I waited for a while. I tried to pull the risers and see if I could get out of the twist, but at the same time I was also spiraling. And I could feel the G-force building up in my head. And in fact, I should have taken the decision to deploy a bit earlier. I don't know if you want me to talk about that now or later.
No, I'm talking about the psychology which it went to mind. I mean, let's see. The reserve is always we all of us, we carry one, but we never ever think that the time might come to use it. It is quite a bit because you are on your own. You can't press radio. You can't ask for help.
Right.
The thing is, many things go in your mind. I mean, that is very, very important. What went through your mind. If you have anything to share, that you can continue, or we'll move to the next person.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, Rakesh, would you like to say on this, like what went in your mind before you pulled it, and you have realized that things are out of your control? But is there anything psychologically what went in your mind before you pull it?
I would say just looking at the terrain and thinking, like I said, thinking this doesn't look like enough for doing a stall, and so I don't think there is too much time or too much thought that happened. I think instinctively it was an instinct reaction. As soon as the thought was like, this is not good enough height, I reached for the handle.
Okay, so now in this case, what I understand is if the height is not really sufficient, don't think much, just pull it off. As simple as that. Okay, now we will go to somebody who had plenty of amount of height. I was there at the incident at that site. He almost had 300 to 400 meters height, which is Karthik. He had enough time to think a lot of things. I think he'll explain in a better sense. Go ahead, Karthik.
Yeah, thanks, Badari. In all the cases, the common thing is that all of them did not have height, but I had it. Even then, when we actually look into it, when the event occurs, I don't know whether the other three also felt the same, but you feel as if time is expanding.
Yeah.
So your decision-making capabilities are far better, or in a heightened state of consciousness. So the point where I saw that I had already had a line over is the time that I took a decision I have to deploy, because it was a condition that I had never seen before in my life while flying, and I definitely did not know anything about what to do about it.
Okay, can I ask you one question? How many hours and how many wings have you flown by now?
Today I have my fourth wing.
No, not today. At the time.
Sorry. So when I was doing that, it was my second wing. The first one was a Gin Bolero, which then I graduated to ATIS 4. Again, mistake on my part was I went in for a wing which I wasn't ready for.
Okay. That wing particularly, how many hours have you flown?
I had done almost 50 plus hours on that wing when I had this incident.
And how many total hours experience by then you had?
Around 70-80 almost.
Okay, all right. So there is no way for you to correct the wing? There was...
No, once I recognized it as a line over, I did not even try to correct it.
All right. So what went in your mind before you just pulled it?
So as soon as I saw a configuration that I didn't understand, I understood it's a line over, but I did not understand the recovery from it. So we had a lot of sessions with Jockey earlier when he had come to Kamshet, and every time he had told us that, okay, every flight you take, please touch your reserve handle to know where it is exactly.
Yeah.
And this is something that when Rohit and I were flying, when Sajid and I were flying, it's something that we always practiced.
Yeah.
So that sort of helped me, and I didn't really have to search for the handle or even consciously look as to where the handle was.
Excellent.
Your hand just instinctively went to it, and we'd practiced the motion so many times that it just sort of was second nature when I threw the reserve.
Excellent. Excellent. So Rakesh, that was it easy to reach your handle and just pull it off?
Yeah, I think was yeah, for me also was easy. I because for many years I have been aware of the the practice that one should have, and every time I have to repack a reserve, I have I would prefer to hang myself and reach for the handle, try and throw the reserve,
Yeah.
and yeah, every once in a while feel the handle.
Just somebody tell me, any of you, I do this funny thing, I don't know whether it is right or not. When I have a nice flight, I keep practice reaching to my handle. I mean, just like that. When I know that the things are a bit smooth, I keep reaching to my handle. Is any of you guys also do this?
I would say
I
once
do it
at
at
least
the
every flight.
I do it at the start of a flight.
There are better ways to distract during a smooth flight.
So it is a good practice, like to reach your handle, just to make a practice, like when it is really needed, you reach it easily. I think, like the most panic situation is faced by Rohit and Vistasp here at a very low height. Guys, did you really reach quickly to your handle? Rohit, go ahead first.
So I'll probably take a moment to talk about the psychological part also.
Yeah.
During the preparation and our reserve packing, we always talked about creating a situation for yourself in your mind that that at your honest preparation level, that you can't recover in a short amount of time. So for me at that time, I had probably 70 odd hours of experience, have done one SIV. But again, one SIV, just when you're introduced to stuff, you are not proficient at that. And I knew for sure I wasn't proficient in coming out of quickly from a nose down spiral. And that too, if I'm at 90 meters above the ground. I didn't know at that time 90, but I knew I'm at the knuckle level and I could see the ground very close. That's good enough. I knew that I was low.
Yeah.
I was low. I had spun my glider. My glider is in nosedive configuration.
Yeah.
At that moment, those three things were enough for me. Low, nose down spiral, not a lot of experience to come out of it safely. I immediately went for my handle.
Yeah.
Now, to answer that question, whether it was easy, also a couple of thoughts ran to my mind, and Karthik had a great point. Time slows down actually. So one thing was very sure: I can't allow the nose down.
Yeah.
I calculated with the descent rate, I would have hit the ground in 3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And I stretched that to about 9 seconds by doing what I did next.
Yeah.
In my mind, I knew that I have to stop this nose down and throw reserve. Yes, but before throw reserve, rather than just leaving my hands and throwing it, I quickly stalled my glider. I knew stalling. I have done that in SIV only once, but I knew I can stall the glider. So I stalled the glider, but I knew for sure I was not going to recover from stall. I was going to go for reserve. But before going to reserve, I stalled the glider, moved the brakes in one hand, and in second hand, in a swift motion, I deployed. So everything happened probably in like 2 seconds, stalling, changing the brakes in one hand and throwing the reserve, keeping the brakes down. What was going in my mind is do not let it dive, and quickly deploy with one hand and trying to keep the brake down after that.
So what we'll do is, this is a very special situation. I assume that you have done everything is right. Like, in somewhere in the question time, we will take one or two experts' view that you did the series of things in a right way, or is there any other better way? So I invite here now any questions from audience. Please put it in your chat box. So we will give you a chance to ask the question. And before we go to the next one, I would like to ask here from the audience again. One incident is very special, which is Vistas Dust Devil incident. And any of you, if you had similar incident, I want you to speak about it, because all other incidents have some similarities, but Dust Devil is something is very different. So from the audience, if you have similar experience, please come in. I want you to talk about it. So we will go to next one, guys. That is opening problems. Since you are there, like, would you like to say about that? I don't think you really had any time to observe all that, but Was there any opening problem?
Badri, the question is to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I knew that I had very less time. I threw the reserve, but I wasn't even sure whether it's going to even open given the time that I was about to hit the ground. So my thought was that I'm going to try to keep the wing in backfly, because I know that even backfly, you have still 5-6 meter per second max as a descent. So in worst scenario, I was ready to hit the deck with a backfly position, almost like a small parachute on my head. So I threw it and I forget about it, whether it will open or not. I didn't have time. I immediately went back to my wing, trying to control it. And in next moment or two, my wing started coming a little bit further.
You didn't really have time to look at it and whatever is happening, because you had a very little space.
Very little time. Yeah.
So we will ask Viz about this. Viz, you had any problems in reaching the handle, and at the same time, was there any problems in opening the reserve?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the first time, which was in Beer, there was no problem. I reached, I looked for the handle, immediately grabbed it, and I think I could just see the ground rushing up at me, and I felt this reassuring tug on the harness, and I think the next moment I touched down.
Okay.
So yeah, and I remember coming down pretty hard, but luckily for me, there was a thorny bush which I landed in, and that kind of saved the impact.
I think that is the same thing. Same happened to Rohit also. We'll get back there. Before going there, Rakesh.
Do you want to hear the second incident?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so now Panchgani was a little different because I had so much height. I kind of waited, a little more, almost till the point that I was starting to develop a little bit of vision was starting to blur. I couldn't keep my head up, and then I remember that it was a huge effort for just to take my arm to the handle. I really had to it was like 4 people were hanging on my arm.
Because you're already in the spin, all the G's are like pulling you
exactly.
out, not being able to reach. Yeah.
And I remember thinking that maybe I waited too long.
Yeah.
So although I had tons of height, I think
you waited too long for what?
To deploy.
No, just tell me, you waited too long for what? What made you think that you waited too long?
Because I was almost at the point of blacking out, and I found it very difficult to take my arm to the reserve handle.
Tell me, like by waiting too long, what did you think that you could have done? I mean, like, what was going in your mind? Like, why were you waiting?
Because I had the height. So I thought I could correct the situation.
Okay. So that
I thought maybe I'll get out of the twist and continue flying.
Okay. So, but did you not realize the moment it was getting into the rotation in the first couple of turns, or you were still trying?
Yeah, but from from the time that I realized, okay, this rotation is building up.
Okay.
So when you're in your first turn, you're trying to undo the twist. The second turn, you're still undoing the twist.
Okay.
The third, fourth turn, you realize that I need to stop this, and go for my handle. And by then, you are already facing a lot of G force.
So can we say that if there is a rotation starting, don't really spend your time?
Yeah, I guess, especially if you're already twisted.
Turn at least.
When you're in a twist, already you are in a twist. Already your handle is one brake is already pulled and stuck, and you already had 2 complications, and the third one is developing. You are still trying to buy time. You are not supposed to buy that. Can I say that?
Yeah, I would say that. I spoke to some seniors later on, and some of them felt that I could have still salvaged the situation. I don't know.
Okay.
So
probably, so people are listening, we will call them. I'm sure a couple of people can help us on that. We will move to the next one. Rakesh, would you like to explain that how easy it was? I think you already explained that, right?
Yeah, I explained how I reached for the handle. You want me to talk after about how it opened and all that?
Yeah, was it easy to open? No, opening part, we'll get back there. This the moment you pulled and you thrown it out, it is open?
Yeah, so I, when I felt that, okay, this looks like out of control rotation happening and all the G's, uh, and the ground height not sufficient, I reached for the handle, and I remembered I have to tug and throw, not just throw in one. So somehow that kind of in that situation also I was able to do that, and so I pulled hard, and then threw straight. I didn't throw on the side. I threw the reserve straight ahead, because my glider was in rotation on the left side. So I threw straight, and just prayed that it opens. And then I felt the tug. I tried to see, but I couldn't move. I tried to turn my head, but I couldn't move. And the next thing, immediately I started gathering going for gathering the glider. And I tried to pull both brakes, and I couldn't.
So tell me something. When you you thrown the reserve, you didn't really see how it is opening. You don't have that visual.
No, I'm coming to that. So so the next immediately I started to pull at both the brakes to kill the glider, and I realized I'm not able to pull it. It's too much pressure. I let go of the right brake, and just the left brake. I started pulling desperately, gathering the brake line of that side, and that helped kill the glider.
At this point in time,
At this point, I saw. At this point, on the ground, I could see a round, big shadow, and the rotation had slowed, and then I realized, okay, it has opened.
Just tell me something. You have not seen reserve opening. So did you feel it, or the wing came down on its own, your main wing? When did you decide to pull the wing towards you?
Yeah, as soon as I felt the tug, I felt the tug. It was not too strong, a little tug, and okay, I felt something is happening, and next thing I thought of killing the wing.
Got it. Got the point. So you had two problems basically. One is the wing went inside cravat and then into the spin. There were two problems, and then you had a low height. These three decisions, these three factors made you to pull the reserve, right?
No, not really a cravat. It was a collapse.
Okay.
It was just a collapse and a dive. Immediately a dive.
There was no twist, right?
No twist, and yeah. So I've been trying to understand why such a sharp dive, but it was just that.
All right. So, Viz, would you like to come back and explain that? Was it easy? I'm sure that you may not have got much time in the beer one. I would like you to explain more on Panchgani. How was the visual? You pulled and it was opening and all that. Did you see or what?
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, like I told you, it was a struggle to reach the handle.
Yeah.
And it was a bigger struggle to pull the reserve out because there was a lot of G-force acting on my arm and on the reserve. So all the theory which tells you that throw it on the inside of the turn and outside. I mean, I just wanted to get it out of the bag, and I managed to do that. And it literally I just released it and it flew away from me. Because the G itself pulled it away.
And also you're in that's different.
Yeah, but I think by now I had cleared that I was below that air mass.
Okay.
I think I was at the surface of the dust devil when this happened, And when I turned around, I must have been, just around the edges. And when I turned around, I don't know. I don't really remember that action on me, because the spiral itself was a lot of force. So I don't remember thinking or feeling anything about the dust devil itself. I didn't even know it was a dust devil till much later.
Okay.
When I discussed this with other pilots, I didn't know what was happening to me.
Okay.
So when I released the reserve, I heard this really loud, like almost like a firecracker going off, sound.
Okay.
As it opened, because I think it opened with a lot of force, and I looked up, and then to my horror, I saw that my reserve had also wrapped around the wing.
Oh.
So now I had half the wing flying, and a small, the reserve was wrapped. It was a round reserve, so just a small reserve there.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that this was definitely the end.
Okay.
So yeah, for a few moments I was the story's over, and but then I didn't see my life flashing in front of my eyes.
Okay.
So then I said, okay, it's not over. And I remember I had time to enough time to get on the radio, and I actually radioed the meet director that I've had a deployment, and this is my approximate location. So that's the kind of time I had as I was coming down.
So can you explain me the ground features and your ground observation? The moment you have things in your control, you're going down. So what were you doing on the ground?
So now my worry was that my descent rate was too fast. So both were open, half. There was a lot of twist, in the risers and in the reserve lines as well. So I started looking down, and I was praying, because there was quite a bit of drift at this point, and I could see myself drifting towards the hill. And I remember praying. I'm a bit of a atheist, so I remember praying quite get me out of this one.
Mummy
and mummy and everybody. And and then I could see that I was drifting towards a tree. There was just one tree on that entire hillside.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is good. I mean, I could see myself drifting towards that tree. But then finally, when I came down, when I got closer, I realized that next to the tree, there was a huge boulder. I mean, it was about 10-12 feet tall, massive boulder.
Yeah.
And I actually...
Sorry, we're losing Vistasp audio. We will get back to...
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, from the boulder on the tree.
Yeah, so now I could see this big boulder, and I was like, oh God, I hope I'm not the boulder. And I finally came down between the boulder and the tree. So my canopy, I think my reserve canopy got stuck on the tree, and I was, hanging between the boulder and the tree.
Okay.
So yeah, that was quite lucky, I think.
Probably you have not made a right decision whether the boulder or the tree. So God has given you equally both.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay, so it's so nice we are laughing today. Discussing such incident. I think this is the power of this sport. We still go back and fly. This is beautiful. So, Karthik, would you like to explain, because you had a lot of time, that I assume that you have seen everything, like how you pulled and how it is opened. Did you any of you guys have done that? Swing and throw. Anybody? Can you raise your hands? Anybody has done the swing and throw? I don't think Baba and Viz and Rohit had time. No.
Yeah, I had enough time to swing and throw.
Yeah.
No, it was just one movement for me.
Yeah, I just wanted it out and go back to like my backslide if possible.
I understand. So Karthik, explain more in detail.
Yeah. So I mean, the deployment wasn't much of a problem for me. My problem started after the deployment.
Yeah.
So if you'll just allow me to sort of share my screen a bit.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, can you see this?
Not yet. Take your time, no worries.
Okay, I think you should be seeing it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so very typically, this is what you see in a SIV with after you've done the reserve with a beautiful lake waiting to in which you will get dunked in with the boat waiting and the glider in front ready to be collected.
Yeah. So,
But
just to interrupt, this is not your visual. You are showing something close to what is yours.
Yes, yes. This is what my visual was. The lake a little further away than I anticipated, and the city, power lines, and construction below.
Yeah.
So essentially, what we come down to is what did I do wrong in terms of when I deployed? I deployed it at the correct time.
Yeah.
But the cascade of events thereafter brings it to a root cause that my decision to conduct my maneuver itself was wrong. I didn't essentially have that situational awareness when I started doing the maneuver and didn't take into account the wind drift, which actually, and around reserve, I did not have any steering capability. So with the wind drift, it actually, rather than landing in the lake, which should have been the ideal case, I ended up over land and landing in between a construction site and power lines. So as Vistas rightly said, I mean, everything didn't go through my mind, but yes, I was on the point of shitting bricks.
Yeah. So you were able to see clearly that everything were you able to guess, like probably I'll land here or here or?
Yes, yes. Luckily for me, looking at the drift, I had sort of figured out that there is an open construction site which I would land in. Now, would I land on the roof, a tin roof, or in the compound is something that I did not know.
Okay.
So the only thing I could do at that point was get ready for the PLF. So I pulled my legs out of the pod, collected whatever little wing I could at that point, and decided, okay, now just get ready, tense your body, and get ready for the roll, because as soon as you hit, just loosen and roll. So that was the whole stretch, the time stretch that actually allowed me to take these decisions.
So the PL landing, like is it happening the way you wanted? I mean, the way you visualized?
Yes, to a point where I rolled off to the side, it happened exactly. But then, of course, the harness decided to come, and I just landed on the side of the harness. So my shoulder actually took the brunt of the impact, and the complete roll didn't take place.
Okay. Okay. You had not major any injuries, like I was there, so it was
nothing. It's just quite shaken up.
Yeah.
Unlike Vistasp and Rohit, who have gone on to do phenomenal record-breaking flights after that.
Yeah. True. So tell me, guys, any of you have used reserve here? I don't think, no. Also, I don't think that was a round one you said.
Sorry, what was the question, Badari?
Did you use a steerable reserve ever out of these two incidents?
No, but after the second incident, I mean, that was the learning. So after that, now I always fly with two reserves.
Yeah.
as far as possible, unless it's a hike and fly kit. And one of them is a steerable.
Did you use that?
So
Have you
no,
got?
no, I didn't have it at this point.
Okay, all right.
But that after that, I invested in a steerable reserve.
Okay. So thank you.
Got a chance to use a steerable reserve in a SIV.
You are not using steerable, right, Rakesh? You are also using the...
Accident, but recently during an SIV I used.
Okay. So guys, how was your impact, Rakesh? Can you explain your impact to the ground?
Yeah. Okay. Reserve deployed, gathering the wing. The turn had slowed. The auto rotation turn had slowed a little, but the turn had now become a big swaying pendulum movement.
Wobble, basically.
Yeah, so it was swaying, and it was big sway that was happening. Kind of slightly turning and kind of swaying was also happening. And slowly the turn was going, and this pendulum thing was like I felt swaying one sway, two, and I was looking at the ground. I was above a slope, kind of the slope of the in the Barot Valley.
Train station.
And I was not train station. I was on the ridge behind train station. This is not at train station.
So -3, you mean?
No, this is the back mountain.
Oh, okay, backside. Okay, all right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was over a slope, but it was all, there was like some trees. There's a tree line, and then there was a open patch as well. And I couldn't like I was in between these two, so I wasn't sure where I will be going. And this swaying was happening. I was still tugging at my wing, and yeah, so it's like 1, 2, 3, and by the fourth pendulum, I had in that swaying movement, I had hit the ground.
Okay.
And I was like tree or ground, tree or ground. I was like praying, don't break the back, don't break the back. And and I had hit the ground, and I was hanging hanging from the reserve, but I had not taken my feet out of the pot. And the PLF didn't, come to me in that moment. I was still, struggling.
Because you are in slope also.
Sorry?
You are in slope. Landed in a slope.
Yeah, landed on in a clearing, basically. Just a little away from the trees, I landed, and the PLF didn't occur. I was still tugging at the wing, and still that sway was happening. And it was too fast. It was like a few seconds, So the PLF, if I would have been in the PLF position, I could have walked away from this. I didn't. I had an impact, and I hurt my back. I broke 2 vertebrae. So I fell on the ground, and I could feel the first thing was shock. In posteriority you realize, but it was kind of a shock, and good half a minute of shock. But your eyes are open and you see, okay, you're alive, but you don't know what all has broken and what has happened.
Yeah. So you realize that you're really in a bad state, but you're still alive.
Yeah, and if I'd done the PLF, maybe I would have not got injured.
So you think there was a chance to do the PLF in the slope?
I think I should have in posteriority. I think if I would have been aware of doing it at that moment, it would have helped. There was still a chance to get in a PLF position.
Okay, so you had a chance. You realized much later that I had a chance, but I didn't really use it.
What I realized is the as soon as the decision and the decision to throw the handle is happening, the PLF should kick in.
Okay. Okay.
Like the immediate thing you think of is gathering the wing,
Okay.
and you want to kill the glider, but you have to. What I think is, this is what my biggest learning is: as soon as you go for the handle, you should think of the PLF.
You are trying to say don't keep your PLF until the last minute. You do your trials in your mind the moment you open the reserve. I mean, you went for the handle.
Yeah, it should be a synchronized thought. Handle PLF.
Exactly. So the
Yeah, I'd like to add here that PLF position under that situation is not something that comes instinctively.
Yes,
It's counterintuitive. Your intuition tells you stay inside the pod. Maybe curl up, but to get out and keep your feet down, it's not a intuitive position.
Okay. I think the mind has to be kind of trained to think. It's not easy. It's not.
Do we all agree on this point? The moment you pull, so it should make a practice to think the PLF.
Yes, I think this should be. This is highly recommended that people should think of PLF as soon as they think of the handle, and they should practice that on the ground.
I'm saying it is basically the mental trials. Okay, I need to do this. I need to do this when I'm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so at this point of a time, so only person who's injured, but everybody safe landed is the Baba. You never had any. You never had any scratches or injuries, right?
No, in fact, after the first incident, I was on top of the ridge, almost at takeoff height, and I knew it was a long climb down. So I actually ended up, looking for a takeoff, and I flew down to the landing.
Okay.
The second time, I had a bruised elbow. That's about it.
Yeah.
On the rock side.
There you have used the toilet paper as a ribbon. Where was this?
Yeah. I had a bit of toilet paper, and so I used that as a ribbon.
Yeah.
There were some shepherds who helped me to get my wing out. Some bushes had to be cut and all that.
Okay.
And they helped me to hold the wing up.
Yeah.
I remember stuffing my reserve into the compartment.
Yeah.
And I waited, I think, quite a bit. I waited for for it to calm down a bit. I definitely didn't want to get into the another situation before I landed.
Yeah. So can Rohit also, can you finish the part of the impact? I remember like last time when we discussed, there was some cactus or something like that which helped you a lot. Would you, because you are the one who had the lowest height, and as well as it was in a rotor.
Yeah. So right after I threw, I went back, tried to go back on my handle, the backfly. But by that time, as the wing tugged me behind, suddenly my legs were pulled up above my body even. So I completely lost the balance. Forget PLF, forget wing. Next moment, my legs were up and my head was down. And then it swung down. Now I could see my wing already like started to come ahead of me. But by that time, I started seeing the ground also. So with the luck and lots of God's grace, the wing came forward, and now I can tell you in later, but all I knew that time is I just hit. Yeah. But wing stuck to the cactus, and I was still getting drifted. There was a lot of wind, that started at that time, and wing got stuck, and I was still pushed towards the direction of wind. So instead of hitting the ground straight, I wrapped around myself very rapidly with the jolt around that huge cactus. Okay. So that was very nice. Rather than hitting the ground, I was wrapped around in an extreme fast circular motion that really killed the impact on the ground. The fun part was actually after that I realized that I'm safe. I'm completely unhurt. But because of the wind, the reserve kept flying. Now it's pulling me on one side heavily. My reserve is stuck completely. My wing is stuck in that cactus, And I'm like that Dara Singh in 60s movie trying to pull two cars because I do not want my wing to get hurt now or get torn. So I'm trying to keep myself, getting stretched and really, killing my glider.
Yeah.
And I was trying hard to keep that wing in check, the reserve in check.
Yeah.
But reserve just wouldn't kill it by itself. I've tried to pull lines or something. Finally, what happened is after bouncing a couple of times on some other bushes and cactuses, the reserve started getting toned, and that's when it lost its power.
Oh, so your main wing was anchoring you, and the reserve wanted to fly you.
They wanted to fly me, so I was like Dara Singh trying to hold.
Okay. So, sorry guys, we were continuously going on. There is one question by Ash here. Ash, are you still there? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
तो सर एक क्वेश्चन था आप सभी से
Yeah.
कि वो मोमेंट क्या था कि जब आपको रिजर्व मतलब लास्ट थॉट होता है कि रिजर्व है हमारे पास, तो व्हाट वाज दैट मोमेंट कि आपको लगा कि नहीं अभी कुछ नहीं हो सकता है एंड देन यू थ्रो रिजर्व? बिकॉज़ आई नेवर थ्रो, सो आई वांट जस्ट लिटिल बिट एक्सपीरियंस लाइक व्हाट वाज दैट मोमेंट?
Yeah. Anyone would like to explain that, guys? Yes.
Can I
Yeah, Badri,
Okay.
I think for all of us it was a different circumstance, and the decision also sort of depended upon our the decision also is dependent upon what actually our configuration the wing was, what was the height. For me, because I had enough height, the decision to throw it was basically a configuration that I never understood, a line over. So it was, yes, it had to be done. For Rohit, I think yes, Rohit can elaborate on his decision, and of course.
So I can keep it very short. In my mind, I knew for sure if I'm at low, if I can see the ground very close, and I'm already in the configuration, I know I don't have a lot of experience to recover from it at that time, let's say. But now I have more experience in recovering. But even today, if I have a nose down at about that 70 meters from the ground, I would probably will still think about throwing. Because it's not about whether I know to recover or not. It's do I have enough time even for that?
मुझे लगता है कि यश, अगर हमारे पास अगर मल्टीपल प्रॉब्लम्स है, जैसे कि अभी विस्ताप का पंचगनी का देखो आप, ब्रेक एक साइड में स्टक है, 2-3 ट्विस्ट है, ऑलरेडी रोटेशन एक राउंड हो गया, दूसरी राउंड हो गया. आई थिंक यू आर ऑलरेडी इन 3 प्रॉब्लम्स. आई डोंट थिंक it depends on the experience also. If you had 500 700 hours of experience in different situations, and if you had enough height, probably you might think about it. But when he was losing his mind, like was kind of feeling the G forces he went for throwing. So that gives in short, I would say, if the problems are more than 2, don't wait. 1 and 2 is somewhat okay. More than 2, don't wait, whatever it is. Okay, unless you're really high, and if your mind is in control, probably you can wait, but otherwise just throw is what my conclusion. But whereas we have Vijay online here, he went through many areas, seen many people in throwing reserves. I don't know if he has ever thrown, but Vijay, if you're there online, would you like to come and say a couple of words?
Hi, Badari.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have 3 incidents of reserve deployment.
Excellent. You should have been here in the panel. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So my first incident was in 9 when I had a mid-eye collision.
Okay.
And I've shared my video on the WhatsApp with you.
Yeah.
If you want to share,
Let me see. You can also share. You can also share if you want. Let me see if I can play that.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm trying to see that.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, but this is a 6 minutes. At what point it starts?
Your voice is too low.
Yeah, can you all guys hear me?
One more minute.
Yeah, Badri, we can hear you. Some problem at Vijay's end.
Okay, so I'm trying to search. He has sent me. Yeah, I found it, guys. I'm sharing. Be there online, Vijay. I'm sharing this.
I can't hear you. Your voice is too less. I don't know why.
Don't worry. Just be there online.
No visuals, Badri.
Yeah, I'm just, there are too many screens. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go back. Okay, now. This is a collision. Untangling.
The pallet bottom is myself. I have yet not thrown the reserve. Now I deploy my reserve. You see yellow one. And in the bottom is myself
Okay,
going down in the tree.
I'll go backward. I'll go back. Yeah, here I see that the red one is open and the orange wing is yours.
Orange wing is mine, but orange reserve is not mine. My reserve is yellow one.
So the green, the one who's flying the green wing is open the reserve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you are still hanging down and I see your orange wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Now I deploy my reserve. Yellow one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so would you like to just explain? So there is not much option when it is a collision. It's a different experience and it rarely happens. So would you like to explain a bit on this?
Yeah, your voice is too less.
Yeah.
Vijay, but we can hear you, so you go ahead.
Vijay, go ahead. No worries. We can hear you. Okay, so when he comes back, we'll take him again. Okay, guys. So the only one person who got injured is here is Rakesh. Rakesh, would you like to say that when you thought of that? Okay, I'm still alive. So what is that next you did?
Okay. I fell with that impact on the ground. I didn't know where I was, but it was not rocky. I realized it's not rocky. I was in shock. First thing, I was in shock, and I was like kind of slowly, in a minute, as the shock was kind of fading. I was starting to realize there's some pain in the back.
Okay.
And I was kind of lying on my back, slightly on the right side, and my head was pinned to the ground, and I realized I was kind of on a slight slope, a muddy slope.
Okay.
There, I thought I want to turn. I want to turn, and I want to remove my balaclava and stuff, but I couldn't move my head. So
Okay.
I removed I pushed up my goggles and removed my balaclava, and I was thinking what to do. I realized I'm not able to move my head, and immediately within I'm trying to understand what to do and stuff, but in within 3 minutes, 4 minutes, there is two people who arrived.
Sorry, I missed the within 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, less than 5 minutes. Yeah, within 3-4 minutes, some people came there. I saw two people. One guy came immediately and started. He looked at me and I told him helmet. I pointed out helmet. And he removed my helmet, and then I wanted to turn. So I showed him my harness buckles, and I tried to remove them, and I was my hand looked kind of still a little shaky in the shock.
Yeah.
And so they kind of removed the harness buckles, and I wanted to turn, and I asked them, "Mera sar pakdo, hold my head," and then I would be able to turn. I wanted to get out of the harness.
Okay.
They turned, and I rolled and was lying there on my stomach. After that I kind of blacked out for a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe 5-10.
Just tell me something. In this case, what if people have not come in 4-5 minutes, or what if people have not come for an hour? Just assumption. I'm just taking a in
Yeah.
case. Were you able to use your radio?
See, I didn't even get time for all that to figure out all that. Before I could I could think of anything, people were there. So next thing I would have tried to get in a position where I would reach for a radio. I had the in reach, so I would go for an in reach. All that maybe you would come because I was conscious.
So you had a tracker. You mean you had a tracker?
I had a tracker, yes. And I had a tracker, radio, everything. All that maybe would have occurred and all that. But this was big help. Luckily I had crashed or landed close to a village. Some people had seen me and they had ran to help immediately.
Okay, thank you so much for such detailed one. And is Vijay can speak now? Mic guys. Vijay, can you come back?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Other mics. Are you Vijay? You're using two computers, two logins. You can cancel one. Yeah, go ahead now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Wait, there is still a feedback. Wait, give me 1 second. Guys, I'm just keeping all of you in mute as well, but you come out of mute when it is needed. Vijay, go ahead, please now.
Yeah, this is about my first deployment in 2009 mid-air collision.
Okay.
Okay, I was flying a competition Polish Open in 2009 in Sopot, Bulgaria.
Okay.
It's a wonderful place to fly competitions. Such a big takeoff that 200 gliders can take off at the same time.
Okay.
Such a big takeoff. And it's like there's a cycle to launch. And moment the cycle comes, the 20 pilots fly together. Okay.
Yeah.
And we were ready to go, window was open, and we just launched. And there was a youngest pilot taking part in these competitions. It was 14 years old Russian pilot.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just took off, and there's a house thermal in front, like a beer. There's one house thermal in Sopot.
Yeah.
Everybody goes there, gain the height, and start the race. They make the position and they go further.
Okay.
So I was going towards the house thermal, and this guy was exactly flying behind me. Exactly.
Behind you. Okay.
Exactly. Means even if you try to look back and forth, you can't see who is behind you.
Okay.
And this was the incident in my life which inspired me to make that gloves with mirror.
Reflective gloves.
Yes.
Yeah.
From this incident, I got this idea and I make this gloves.
Okay.
So next time this will never happen with me.
Yeah.
So the moment I was lower, he was higher. And moment you approach the house thermal, you gain height. And first thing you'd go for your given turn, right direction. That was a even day, so right direction was there.
Okay.
So I just got in the core of the thermal. I took the right turn, and I am turned, and he's in front of me.
Yeah.
Nothing to, he just collapsed with each other.
He has turned the other way, and you turned the right way.
No, he was just following me straight.
Okay.
And this is why I will say that two young people are not eligible to fly, especially the things like competitions.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the common sense of driving on the road.
Yeah.
Like visualizing, you can make out where he's going to turn. Like
yeah.
If any young adult was flying, he would have understood that yes, today is right turn, and I am following this guy. The moment he's going to get thermal, he's going to take the right turn, so I have to move on the left.
Yeah.
Which he didn't realize. He kept following me, and this incident happened. Okay. Now this was the competition day, first day of the competition, and we were in all different mood when we fly competitions. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Even though I met with the mid-air collision, I was around 300 meters above the ground when we had the accident. Okay, and this poor fellow reproduced immediately what you see in the video. Okay,
Yeah.
but I was still in that flying mode. Means I was trying to come out of that mess while.
So you are visualizing there is a possibility to come out of it, but you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
panic.
So I was trying to come out, but in this whole process, I see my brake is gone because there's some line was gone from my brake line, and my handle was in my hand. So even if I come out now, I will not able to fly the competitions. So now there's only second option to throw the reserve.
Yeah.
So finally, when I deploy the reserve, we were hardly 100 meters above the ground,
Yeah.
and I deploy my reserve.
Okay.
And we both worked then coming down together, and we went into the tree.
Okay, both of you.
Both of us.
Okay.
Nothing was hurt. Means I stopped 2 feet above the ground, and he was up in the on the tree.
Okay.
And yes, one part was like he was a Russian pilot who could only speak Russian.
So both of you are hanging.
I could only speak English. Okay. And then we had the rescue team from the Bulgaria.
Okay.
They could only speak Bulgarian.
Okay.
So with these 3 different language, we managed to talk with each other, and we finally came down with the other pilot in the goal, and we were in the headquarters.
Okay, that that is quite a bit of a story. 3 languages, 1 tree, 2 pilots. Anyway, I would like to ask you here. There is Manoj Chetri waiting for you to ask a question to you, to Vijay Soni.
Yeah.
Is there Manoj? Come in, please.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello. Namaste, Vijay bhai. Namaste to all. First of all, actually, it's Naveen Chetri. Manoj Chetri is maybe in Sikkim. It's Naveen Chetri from Manali. No problem. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
My question is regarding that mid-air collisions. So what kind of, like, if it ever happens, what kind of mentality like pilots should have to build, especially the new pilots? Because if ever happens, suddenly it happens, we have to already always do a mind sight. मतलब हमें पहले से सोच के रखना चाहिए कि अगर होता तो होते ही रिजर्व थ्रो करना है, और अगर मे भी एक ने रिजर्व थ्रो और एक ने नहीं किया तो शायद कॉम्प्लिकेशंस और बढ़ सकते हैं. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि किस तरह की मेंटालिटी डेवलप करनी चाहिए कि अगर इन केस इन फ्यूचर कभी भी मिड एयर कोलिजन होता है तो विदाउट एनी करेक्शन और वेटिंग की ठीक, मतलब कि मे भी निकल जाए वो वहां से, तो सीधे ही रिजर्व थ्रो करना है या थोड़ा वेट करना है, कुछ ये हेल्प कर सकती है बहुत बार मेरे हिसाब से.
There's only 2 ways to go. 2 ही रास्ता है to make a decision. One is how high you are. That will make the decision what to do. If you're not enough high enough, okay, deploy your reserve immediately. Don't think of anything else. If you have enough height, then try to figure. This is I'm talking about for both things. Middle college हो या normal cases हो, कुछ भी हो. If you have enough height, then try to come out of it. If it is totally mess up, then don't think too much. Just deploy it. ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं है, जो होना है हो जाएगा, deploy कर दो.
Yeah.
अगर एक ने कर दिया है, मान लीजिए आपने, जैसे एक ने पहले कर दिया है,
कोई बात
तो
नहीं.
तब तो सोचने वाली बात ही नहीं है. तब तो अगर टेंगल है आपस में और एक ने रिजर्व थ्रो कर दिया है तो दूसरे को तो इमीडिएटली चाहिए उसी टाइम ही, या मतलब कॉम्प्लिकेशन बढ़ सकती है क्योंकि वेट में भी उसके रिजर्व मतलब उसके उसमें ट्रांसफर हो.
There won't be complications like एक ने भी फेंका है, दूसरे ने फेंका नहीं है, क्यों नहीं फेंका पता नहीं है, but that will come down, and that will come down with the more faster than is design. और कुछ भी नहीं. Only main thing, when you are falling in the tree, you have to put your leg around. Leg, अपने पैर को lock कर दो ऐसे. Don't keep your leg open like this. Yeah, this is a very common trick to land a tree.
Okay.
Put your leg around.
Thanks very much.
For boy or girl, anything. Otherwise, you are gone.
Okay.
ऐसा है.
Okay. So basically lock
your legs.
Lock the end.
True experience of tree landing.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I've done all this from the.
Thank you so much, Naveen, and thank you so much, Vijay. Vijay, what is your other 2 incidents? Quickly.
I talk about this thing more like this incident only give me idea of making the second reserve handle by my idea what I spoke the last time on the Jugaad. It was so this incident taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So each flight teaches you a lot. It is upon you how much you take it from it. Okay. And my second incident I'll talk about, it is in 2015 in the World Cup India.
Yeah.
Did win. So it was third or fourth task, and I was coming back from the flatland towards the mountain near Chamunda.
Okay.
And I enter the thermal in the tail. Okay. And I got a big collapse, reflection on the left hand side, and I went into the right rotation.
Okay.
Okay. And I was hardly 100 meters above the ridge line where I dropped.
Yeah.
And I was trying to counter check my deflection, but it didn't happen. It was going in the rotation. It went in the rotation.
Yeah.
Immediately deploy my reserve.
Yeah.
And I threw my reserve, and the wing took the reserve immediately. So it was like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm on the mountain.
Oh my God.
It was full G-force, and still was not a blackout. And it was very safe, very fine save. Like this is the slope of the mountain, and I just and I was there.
Oh, okay.
If 1 foot down, it could have smashed,
Yeah.
and I don't know what would happen.
In
But
fact-
yeah, there was small sprain in the leg, and I immediately took the selfie and sent it to the bid director. So they are tense free, and there was Shepherd to help me out. He collected the glider, and the team was there. And बोलते ना वो the rescue team came there to take me. And the first time बोलते ना वो मरने के बाद तुमको कंधे पे लेके जाते हैं. They all make that stretcher, and I was lying, and they're lifting me up, and I experienced this when I was alive. कैसे feel होता है?
this is quite good. Okay, thank you so much, Vijay, for coming in.
Yeah.
And, guys, we have one question from Santosh. Santosh, please come in.
Hi everyone. It's really interesting to listen all this, and yeah. And I have a question about height. Like everyone would have because when these situations happen, I doubt someone will be thinking like, oh, should I look at the value? Okay, how much height it is and this thing. So do you recommend I don't think in unknown places we can you are flying higher, we can identify this in, but at least known places we should be a bit aware before, you guys said we should be every time we fly we should reach towards the reserve handle once to know where it is and get the grip of it or something like that. For height also, something we should every time or once in every flight we should think this is the height, below this I go or something happens, then I have to throw the reserve or something. So those we should think. Or also while the incident when really it happens, because in SIV once I thought I should throw it the reserve, now it's not out of my control or something. I suddenly looked down, but I was thinking is my height judgment correct or not, because that time it's difficult to look at the value. I didn't had that, but even if I don't think it's very easy to look at the value in what situation it would be. So yeah, how to manage that thing?
Okay, so I think the best person to answer this is Rohit can give you an idea. I'll quickly tell you generally what I do is that you have your takeoff height is always registered in your mind, and there are a couple of peaks which are there in that particular site. You always in reference of the height, otherwise you will not see the meter. But anyway, we will hear this from Rohit. Rohit, would you like to say that? No, your mic is, wait. Yeah, please, now go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's quite simple, Santosh. It's nothing to do with really a new place or unknown place. You might be doing a cross country in a newer area. It's nothing to do. It's nothing to do with looking at your vario as well, or knowing the peaks, what height they are. It's good for the awareness, but really what's important at any point in time, let's say you're thermally, you always have to keep an awareness of your AGL above the ground feature on where you're climbing. always the spatial reference is continuous with you as what is my current height, and those things will drive your decision. How much risk are you willing to take? For example, you're gliding towards the next peak. What is your expectation? How close you're going to tackle the next thermal? Okay, so you start from that point. As you arrive to that point in the mind, if you are very close to the ground, then you better start being very cautious, because that's your danger zone now. The moment you start gaining height above 100 meter, 200 meter, now you know you're in a good zone. So every time you are closer to the ground features, always know what's the AGL, above ground level. If you have that track continuously, you don't have to look at that when you suffer an incident.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a very good answer. Like, it's not only that time or something one time, it should be every time while flying. We should be aware of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'd like to say something on this.
Yeah, Vijay would like to say something. Please go ahead, Vijay.
When such an incident happens, you never focus on the instrument. Okay. And what you listen to now, what we are talking about, we are at 300 meter, we are at 200 meter, we are at 150 meter. That is, we analyze our flight after the incidents happen. And then we figure out what are the figures. On the figures we are talking.
Yeah.
We are not talking because we are watching the video. That's a time you have to have 100% focus on your recovery, on what you're going to do. So that is the least thing to look at this situation.
I don't think even the focus will go on the video. How much ever big number it is.
Exactly. And this thing happens it doesn't happen like abhi 300 meters bhi ho sakta hai, so I can ho hi nahi sakta. It is just instant, ho hi jata hai.
Okay, so since you are still online, Vijay, I would like to ask you, all of you, one question here is that how easy is it to fly again the way we were flying before the incident? Can we one by one, can you quickly say that? How easy is it after an incident to fly again like a normal, how you were flying before? Vijay, quickly.
Yeah, it is very difficult, very difficult. It is a big break, means it is like you have to again come back. We talk about the people stop flying. The most of the people stop flying.
Yeah.
And they stop agreeing that they're not flying anymore.
Yeah.
See, that will keep them not flying forever. Be frank and talk about yourself. Yes, you are afraid. Talk to the people who can motivate you, and be more confident and believe in yourself, and step back and go further.
So be transparent, talk to as many people possible, whatever has happened, that will help you better.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Vij, would you like to say on this regard?
Yeah, for me, I mean, my first flight, I was flying again within an hour or so. So yeah, I just knew that I wanted to get back in the saddle, and I didn't want this to mess with my head. So yeah, I think I've been lucky. It's not bothered me at all. If at all, it's just it's given me a lot of belief in that the reserve works.
Okay.
And yeah, and I will never hesitate to deploy my reserve. And yeah, psychologically, it didn't affect me at all.
Thank you, Vijay. Karthik, would you like to say, how long did it take for you to return to your normal flying?
Yeah, Badari, there are clearly two kinds of people here, like we mentioned. I mean, one who take it as a learning, and then the people like me who sort of regress and then have a tough time coming back. After Bilaspur, I went to Beer and flew there, but it is after Beer that everything started going wrong.
Yeah.
And it's been quite a struggle for me to come back again. Like how Vijay said, first thing is be true to yourself. I was lucky enough to have very good friends who sort of still take me through what happened, how to get out of it. I've been lucky enough with instructors. I've done 2 SIVs after that in Turkey, and TJ has been very gracious to tailor make it for me, so that to help me get back into the saddle. and of course, sort of the main thing is you go back and analyze the situation. The worst has already happened, and
Yeah.
you know you've got out of it. It can only go up from there.
Yeah, true. So Rohit, what would you like to say on this?
So each person is different. I think I was like Vistas on that day when I threw on the radio. I told Vistas everything is fine, and I was actually ready to go for another flight right away. But things changed very rapidly. Because I couldn't fly that day. Maybe things would have been better if I could have flown right away that day. But things started going very much worse in next subsequent week, and I continued flying next weekend. But it was very difficult for me to fly. I could only do those takeoffs because the muscle memory and because my head just wasn't in a place.
Okay,
But
not
I kept working on it. I did 2 SIVs after that, which helped immensely to come back in the game. Uh, because if you have a fear, you absolutely need to work on it. But it takes time, because time then over the time fixes things for us, because the memory starts fading in and
Yeah.
a better memory starts replacing it. So me recovering my wing in much worse conditions in SIV, doing it over and over again, doing independently without an instructor on a radio, really helped me to completely come back to the game. So I can say after maybe 2 to 3 years, I was back, and after probably now 6, 7 years, I'm completely back in the game.
You think
I
that
have no residual.
there is a way to reduce that? You think it is? Was it? You think now? Is there any idea? You think that that could have reduced that time? 3 years is quite long.
I think it is very personality type. I mean, I'm as you said a couple of times, extremely analytical person. I'm very hard with myself. I don't forgive myself easily for the mistakes I do.
Yeah.
So it took me quite a time to forgive myself.
Yeah.
Right. Versus some people are born with a, call it a thicker earwax or a bawa like balls of steel.
I do not mean compare with anybody. I'm just trying to tell you.
Yeah.
When you do certain things, then the idea B comes, idea C comes. I could have done this way, or I could have done that way. You think you have any other ways probably you would have done than what you've done till now?
To come faster back in the game?
Yeah.
No, that's what I was saying. It's completely personality type.
Yeah.
You can talk to as many as people, research your own. That's my way of doing things, by the way. Talk to your instructors, walk them through it. I work closely with Vistas. Vistas helped me a lot because he was a first-hand observer in that. So I had a lot of chats with him. It's a difficult time. Be honest and open to yourself. Make yourself, just like I really applaud Rakesh explaining the whole thing in front of all of us. It takes a lot of, I would say, courage to do that. Big thanks, Rakesh. But it helps you also in recovery. If you think one day you explaining this to everyone is going to save them, it's a very positive feeling, and that helps you to come back in the game.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. So would you like to say that how long it took for you to recover and fly again like a normal pilot?
For me, this incident was April 2018, and I got injured.
Yes. Other than the
recovery period itself is a big thing.
Yeah.
And what I've understood from many people earlier is that if after an incident, if you try and get back to it immediately, it helps. With much less gap. But for me, it was becoming a long gap. So now it's like after a year of trying to get back physically in shape, I realized I found my confidence was very much down in terms of flying again. But I kept motivating myself and thinking about how to get back into the game. I decided to I came to Beer. I didn't fly. Next season I came, and but I end of that next season I got a chance to get an SIV, and I was not sure of flying. I was not sure if I will be able to do it like in terms of physical fitness as well as mentally. But I wanted to get over with it, so I got an SIV. And going for that at a SIV, I realized I was feeling like a beginner.
Okay.
Like Rohit was saying, it was just the experience and the muscle memory that helped and so the confidence goes down. Really went down for me. Went down really deep, and that SIV helped to come back a lot. I remember even coming for landing, I would come, just because it was a new landing in Bilaspur, I would come as a beginner, and I was, doing it wrong. Debu had to correct my landing.
Okay.
And but then after the SIV, I have kind of, I would say, gained back. I think I'm still not like when I'm planning next season when I come to fly. I think I still will go take it slow, and I'm stepping to my level of wing and everything.
So it is a game between the mind and the heart. The mind says not to fly because you had a bad experience. The heart says no, you should go and fly. So it's a lot of a game between these two. I would like to ask you the last one sentence, that from the whole incident, what is that you take away, Rakesh?
Okay. So from the whole incident, few technical things, the mistake that I did.
Very quick. We already spent 1.5 hours. If you can put it in about a sentence or would be great.
Yeah, one for me I learned, and I would say for everybody, the first instinct is to release the speed bar always if anything is going wrong with the wing, but still can go wrong. So you have to really get in practice with that. Anything unstable, you have to release the speed bar if you're on the bar.
So by the time this incident happened, how many hours have you clocked, Rakesh?
I would say something around 300, 400.
Okay. Thank you so much. And Vish, would you like to add?
There's more. One more thing I would like to add. I'm not sure of that, but it is something that I should bring it here in the discussion.
Yeah.
Now my harness had a rear reserve.
Okay.
And, so when the reserve is out,
yeah,
there is empty space where the harness, where the reserve sat in the harness.
Yeah.
And when I hit the ground, I hit my bum and my back.
Okay.
So I injured my back where the reserve is supposed to be.
Supposed to be there. It is supposed to protect.
The question came to my mind: is it because the padding, the protection at that point is less?
Can you tell me which harness is this? Which harness is this?
Because the Delight, Super Delight pod harness.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Vish, would you like to? What is the takeaway from this?
Takeaway is deploy when in doubt.
Okay.
And get into your reserve very seriously. Learn how to pack a reserve. Learn everything you can about a reserve. I think every pilot who flies should know how to pack a reserve.
Okay. So, Karthik, what is the takeaway?
In a gist, first is be true to yourself in terms of your capability, because that will keep you safe. And secondly is, if anything like this happens, come back with it with a structured view. If you have regressed in terms of capability.
Yeah. Rohit, what is the takeaway? I mean, I think yours is the most special to me because it is the closest to the ground in a rotor, and it is you had the least amount of time to do everything and anything, and by God's grace you are still sitting here and talking to us. It is so great. Please explain what is the takeaway in the whole incident.
Yeah, I think Vistas has really said it nicely. Rest of the guys too. I'll just add further. Have an extreme clarity in your head. What is your capability? And in your mind, create a scenarios you know for sure. This height and this configuration, I'm gonna deploy. Okay. If you keep visualizing those scenarios, like for me, even today, now after a couple of SIVs, I do my SIVs almost alone now. I can do it. My instructor TJ can vouch for that. But in spite of that, I have a very clear understanding if I can't recover more than 2 auto rotation turns, because I should be able to slow down in 2 turns. But if that's not happening and it keeps increasing in spite of me trying, deploy.
Yeah.
So that's my current decision. Maybe as my practice improves, I'll change that decision. But you should all have a very clear criteria and what your decision will be ready in your head, and then just deploy. It saves life.
Thank you, guys. But before I close, I still have 2 more questions, and Vijay is going to give a last sentence for PLF. But let's attend the questions first. Manoj Shetty, quickly, please keep it very short, and we have already spent 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot. My question is to Rohit. Rohit, I mean, I just wanted to ask you, since you said very analytical in your approach. The question is, after such a kind of incidents, deploying reserve, did you basically analyze in terms of what had to be changed in your flying, or was it you just couldn't avoid? Or what are the changes you did after such a big incident in your flying?
Sure. So Manoj, of course, being me, I overanalyzed, analyzed, and kept analyzing it. A couple of things I realized, and I think your question is good. And I'll also combine, there was another question that BHP recommends at least 300 meters. 300 meters will be luxury, but in real life, deploy at any height, till you hit the ground, you can always deploy. Okay. Now coming back to again your answer. So I realized that why my brake was pulled so much, even though I wasn't, trying to check it. That means at that point, I was still. Go back to the flying stories. You'll see my video. I was still in the center while my glider was diving way in front of me. Okay, in the sideways. This shouldn't have happened. So after that, I really started focusing on the harness settings as well. I have been always doing that, but I ignored one part, which is the chest strap. Not the chest strap, vest strap, the one on the top. That is actually very important because that ensures that if your wing dives heavily, it will grab you and it will also take it, take you with it. You will not stay out of sync with the wing. It's extremely important when the wing goes, you go with it, especially the high aspect ratio. I fly now ENC. For me, it's the first big aspect ratio wing. 50-70% on bar, a big one in B. But now with my adjustment, when that happened, when wing started diving, I was immediately pulled in that dive with me. So I kept it loaded. And after that, 90 degrees turn, then I could start adding brakes and throwing my weight and start slowing down. But the first thing that needs to happen is you staying in sync up with the wing. As long as your wing is loaded nicely, you have the authority in the brake to start stopping it. So that's a big learning for me from that particular incident.
Thanks, sir.
Clear? Okay. So now Rakesh says that it is a good way is to, I'm just reading. It is a good way is to start with SIV after an incident. If you're not sure to go and fly, that is a good beginning. And Amit Negi had said that I would like to quickly share my experience of throwing. Are you there still, Amit? Can you hear us? Okay, so if you're there, please come back and let Vijay, would you like to say about that PLF landing?
Yeah, PLF. See, I don't believe in this PLF that much. People keep talking about a lot about PLF because this is very old technique. And when they used to teach this thing, that time I don't think there was a bulky harness. There was skin type harness, and it was easy to perform in those harness.
Okay.
See, nowadays, if you try with your bulky harness and try to do on the ground, you can take the first load, but you can't roll because of your harness.
Okay.
So you end up in giving the load on your shoulder or something, like what happened with Rakesh. Okay.
So what do you suggest? What do you suggest?
So my own suggestion is like when you have in this kind of situation that you are going to hit something, make your position like you are in the womb of your mother womb, like an egg shape. You understand? And to head down and relax your body.
Okay.
So this will save you with any hard impact.
Okay.
This has been also the analysis by the people in the aircraft when there was an accident in the aircraft.
Okay.
The kids have saved, but the big human people who are sleeping, they were saved because, and people who are awake, they were gone.
Yeah. So any other expert, if is still there in the house, please come on this point. If you want to share any point on this, which
I believe, yeah, I agree with him that a full PLF may not be possible because of our harnesses. PLF was basically started by paratroopers, and they have like a very bikini kind of harness configuration. But I definitely think that you should come down feet first, because our legs, they can take a lot of impact, and even if you have to break a couple of bones in your leg, I think it is better than injuring your back or your kidneys or some other vulnerable part of your body.
Okay. So just guys, tell me very quickly that hope we are not confusing people here, because PLF as a standard format is what everywhere it has been taught. On the last minute, we have put this doubt into the people's mind. Hope we are not confusing rather than helping them. How do we close?
I'd like to clarify, Badri, that PLF, yes, in PLF, your first point of touchdown is your legs. Yeah, so you are landing on your feet first, and I feel that that is the most important part. After that, if you can manage to roll to deflect the shock, of course, great, which is difficult with modern harnesses. But the part I'm stressing on is feet first, because they are like the shock absorbers of the body.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Viz. That's the most important part of PLF. The rest is if whatever is possible.
Okay, so on this line, Manoj want to add something. Who's here? I want to say something. Naveen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, this was little confusing. Vijay Bhai said that one should not go for PLF, but in my opinion, I think he is talking about the comp harness, which are really bulky. Because any other harness, like I use Impress 3, so I have even tried PLF in it, and any other chair harness it can work. So maybe for new guys it can be bad message that you should not go for the PLF. Maybe he's right. I don't know. He has lot of experience, but he's right about the, I think, comp harness only, which
I
are
understand
bulky.
what you're trying to say. If it is a heavy harness, would that?
I will correct myself here. I have not said that don't go for PLF, but what I think is PLF is not 100% practical. That is what was my statement.
Okay. So I would like to leave this room still with the PLF practice. If you are a regular person, if you are carrying a heavy harness, which is probably is not a right way. Which if you are carrying a heavy and a comp harness, you will anyway meet people like Vijay. So many people, you will have a better idea. For now, we close on the note. Keep the PLF. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rohit, and thank you so much, Karthik. Thank you so much, Rakesh. Thank you so much, Vistasp. Thank you so much, Vijay, and all of you for coming and participating on this such an informative session. We will close here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Badari.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you.
everyone.